What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful fight fans across the world? And in today's video, I'm going to be dropping the most entertaining fighters under 155 pounds. Okay, this is limited to fighters that are 155 and below. I'll make a video about 170 and above after, because it's too hard to put all these entertaining fighters on one list. Even making this list was so hard because there's so many entertaining fighters in the UFC. But let's get straight into my two honorable mentions, okay? My first honorable mention, Charles do Bronx Oliveira. And most of you are probably saying, oh my god, how is this guy not in the top 5? How is this guy not in the list? But Charles do Bronx, whenever he fights somebody like Islam, whenever he fights somebody like Arman, it gets a little stinky. Like the Arman fight, it was entertaining. The submission attempts were entertaining, but other than that, it was a little stinky. When he just has him in full guard and he's not doing much with it, but when he gets a submission, it's hype. But most of the time, he's just getting like the Dagestani on the floor. What are you gonna do? But the reason he's not in the top 5 is because everybody in my top 5, they don't have boring fights. They do not have boring fights. But regardless, Charles do Bronx definitely deserves a shout out because bro's entertaining. When he goes out there and gets to do his style, his Muay Thai style and the Jiu-Jitsu, it's one of the most entertaining fighters to watch for sure. If Charles do Bronx is fighting, you're watching that fight regardless. Let's get into the honorable mention that I have. Islam Makhachev, one of the most everybody likes to call Dagestani's crotch sniffer is boring, but come on, you gotta give Islam his flowers, man. He is one of the most entertaining fighters we have. His last 4 fights, come on, there were such bangers, and even his fights before that, if you go back and look, the Drew Dober, the Dan Hooker, the Bobby Green fight, they're all bangers. Islam just goes out there and destroys these guys, and it's entertaining. But regardless, you gotta give Islam his flowers too. He's a entertaining fighter. He's just not a Dagestani crotch sniffer. I do not like hearing that because even though sometimes he kind of is, sometimes he does just hold them down, do nothing with it. Like sometimes he was doing that in the Volk fight, yada yada. But regardless, I think he deserves an honorable mention. I think he really does. But let's get into the actual top 5. Okay, in the 5th spot, we got Max Bless Holloway. Come on. Max Holloway, he doesn't really have boring fights. Even when he's going out there and losing to Volk, only the 3rd fight was kind of boring because Volk just destroyed him every round. But still, that fight's not even boring. Because Max Holloway, he just goes out there and gives it his all. Like, you just love seeing Max Holloway strike. He is one of the cleanest striking in the UFC. One of the most fun strikers to watch in the UFC. But just think about his last, 3 fights. They have been bangers. Gaethje, Korean Zombie, Arnold Allen. All bangers. Those fights were all bangers. And I think he definitely deserves a list. And he gave us the best KO in UFC history. You had the UFC 300. He gave us the best fight at UFC 300. So how can he not be in this list, okay? How could he not be in this list? But regardless, Max Holloway, I think he deserves a spot on this list. He's in my 5th spot. So let's get into the 4th spot now. We got Sugar Sean O'Malley. Everybody likes to disrespect Sugar Sean O'Malley, but he became bantamweight champ. He never has a boring fight, okay? He never has a boring fight. Never. His striking is crazy to watch. That Cheeto Vera fight, it went the full 25 minutes, but the whole time I was just in awe of how great Sean O'Malley's striking is. The way he flows, the way he switches stances, the way he has power in both his hands, in his knees, and his kicks. He's just one of the most entertaining fighters to watch, for sure. Everybody likes to talk about Sean O'Malley, disrespect him outside of the cage. Maybe he's not the most entertaining, maybe outside, but inside of the cage, you gotta give him his flowers, man. He's one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC, for sure. He deserves a spot in this top 5. He could even be higher on this list because bro does not have a boring fight. But regardless, he definitely deserves a spot on this list, and I think 4 is great. I think 4th spot is great for him. But let's get into the top 3. So this is where it might get a little controversial. So let's see. Okay, in the 3rd spot, I have Ilia Topuria. 15-0, 5 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. 9 of those wins first round finishes. He just knocked out Volkanovski. The fight before that, he just pieced up Josh Emmett for the whole fight. And then before that, I'm pretty sure he submitted Bryce Mitchell. Like, come on, you gotta give Ilia. Even though I don't like Ilia Topuria because he knocked out my GOAT Volkanovski, still, I gotta give him bro his flowers. He's an entertaining fighter, and if anybody was gonna dethrone Volk, I hope it would be a great fighter like Ilia Topuria, a fun, entertaining fighter that goes out there for the finish, okay? That goes out there every time, gives it his all. Say what you want about Ilia, he might be yada yada, but still, He gives it his all in the cage. That's all that matters to me at the end of the day. I just want to see an entertaining fight. That's what we're watching the UFC for, to be entertained, okay? So he definitely deserves a spot on this list. And not undefeated, and his boxing is disgusting. His power is disgusting, okay? He deserves a spot on this list for sure. Maybe him and Sugar Sean O'Malley are pretty tied. I'm not going to lie, they're pretty neck and neck. But I think Ilya just edges us out a little bit because, man, the way he knocked out Volk, oh my God. The way he did Josh Emmett, oh my God. Even though that's basically the Chito Vera performance, but still, regardless, Ilya Tapora deserves a spot on this list. But let's get into the top two. And these two men can be interchanged also. In the second spot, I have Dustin Poirier. You gotta, if you have an entertaining UFC fighter list, Dustin the Diamond Poirier has to be on this list, okay? Like this, bro, it's impossible for bro to have a boring fight. I think it's literally impossible. He goes out there, picks up his shorts, he goes out there, wipes his nose, and he just gives us the dirty box. Yoel Romero, dirty box. Gives us the in-pocket boxing. That's what we want to see. The Dan Hooker fight, one of the best fights ever in the UFC. Him versus Justin Gaethje, you know it's going to be a banger. Him versus Islam was a banger. Him versus anybody is a banger. Him versus Charles du Bronx. Him versus anybody on this list would be a banger fight. Regardless, come on. Dustin Poirier, I don't even have to say much. Come on, just look at these stats right here. 16 wins by knockout, more than half of his wins by knockout. 7 by submission, 13 of those being first-round finishes. Dustin Poirier is one of those fighters, man. The Benoit Saint Denis fight, he KO'd him. Crazy. But regardless, he definitely deserves a spot on this list. He could literally be one. I think him and the guy I haven't won are tied. But I'll give you my reason why the guy in one has to be one, okay? Of course, he has to be on this list too. Justin, the Highlight Gaethje. And I think he just edges out Dustin Poirier because, come on, literally his nickname is the Highlight, okay? His nickname is the Highlight. 26 wins. 20 of them by knockout. The ratio of wins to knockouts is way more than anybody on this list, I think. 9 of those first round finishes. Even though he lost in that Max Holloway fight, the best fight on UFC 300 for sure. Who did he fight before that? I think it was Dustin Poirier. He KO'd him with that head kick. Come on. The Rafael Fiziev fight. Come on. We don't even have to go through all of his fights. All of this guy's fights are bangers. He goes out there. He came into the UFC with a wrestling background, but all this guy does is just give us the craziest striking battles we've ever seen. Justin Gaethje has some of the craziest power in the UFC, some of the best leg kicks in the UFC. We have to give Justin Gaethje his flowers, man. And when you know Justin Gaethje goes out there and wins, he jumps off that cage. His celebration is the most entertaining also. He really is Justin the Highlight Gaethje. So I think he deserves a spot as a number one. Win or lose, Justin Gaethje's fighting, you know you're going to be entertained. Win or lose, doesn't matter. Justin Gaethje's fighting, you're going to get hype. This whole list, none of these guys have boring fights. Even the honorable mentions, they don't have boring fights, okay? All of these guys, go watch most of their fights. It's going to be bangers, man. Gonna be fireworks every time. I want to be like a little girl in her bed waiting for like Rapunzel or Flynn Rider, thinking about these fights. I want to be so hype. I want to be like a little boy thinking about the WWE matches when I was little. When I would think of John Cena pulling up. That's how hype these matchups would get me. But come on. The UFC, man. These are the best fighters, regardless. But thank you all for tuning in to this most entertaining fighters under 155 pounds. If you want to see the above 155 pounds list, put it down in the comments. Put it down in the comments if I missed anybody on this list. If anybody that's more entertaining than these fighters should have been on this list and should have been mentioned in the honorable mentions, maybe just let me know. I want to talk to y'all. I want to hit 100 subs soon. We're going to hit 1K before the summer ends. Mark my words, or definitely in a couple of months, we're going to hit 1K. But come on, before the summer ends, we could do it. Run my numbers up. Run the comments up. I'm going to reply to everybody in the comments. Leave a like if you like this video. And just let me know, okay? Let me know. And leave any suggestions who you think should be in the above 155 pound video that I'm probably going to drop like tomorrow or the day after. Who's the most entertaining fighter that's above 170 and above, okay? But regardless, thank you all for tuning into another top 5, and I'll see you in the next one.